In this podcast episode, we want to introduce you to our BCEN friends, Sean Elwell and Adam Oliver. Come along as Michael Dexter and Holly Briggs talk with these dual guests and discuss how their experiences in healthcare have shaped their political roles and community service. This episode is called May or May Not Be Outside the Scope of Nursing.
Hello, and welcome to the BCEN Friends podcast, where we hold interesting conversations about learning with a range of thought leaders, BCEN certification holders, and industry professionals. But most importantly, to create value and insight for you, our professional nurses across the emergency spectrum. We hope you find our discussions interesting, informative, sometimes funny, sometimes serious, and always valuable. I'm Holly Briggs, a professional development specialist at BCEN, and one of your hosts for today. I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Dexter, Director of Professional Development at BCEN. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Holly.
Great to have you with us. In this episode of BCEN and Friends, we are excited to have two guests on our show who are not only amazing nursing professionals, but they share a unique political position as a mayor of their respective community. So for our dual guests, I'm going to ask Michael if you could please introduce us to our BCEN friend, Sean Elwell, and then I'll get the pleasure of introducing our BCEN friend, Adam Oliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Elwell is the Senior Director of Emergency Services, Critical Care Transport, and Pediatric Trauma Center at Nemours Children's Hospital in Wilmington, Delaware, where he has dedicated over 21 years of service. Starting his career as an EMT, Sean transitioned to become a registered nurse and earned his Doctor of Nursing Practice from Wilmington University. He holds a master's degree in nursing leadership and health systems management from Drexel University, graduating Summa Cum Laude. Recognized leader in his field, Sean has published numerous articles and presented at regional and national conferences. He's a past president of the Society of Trauma Nurses and currently serves as secretary-treasurer on the Board of Certification for Emergency Nursing. In addition to his professional roles, Sean actively contributes to his community as the mayor of Elsinboro Township, where he has served for 18 years, including 14 years as mayor. He's held several leadership positions within local government and is currently on the executive board for the New Jersey League of Municipalities, set to become first vice president this November. Sean also dedicates time to volunteer with the Elsinboro Fire Company, where he serves as chief. His extensive experience and commitment to both healthcare and public service make him a respected leader in his community.
And Adam Oliver is a dedicated healthcare professional with over 2 decades of experience in the emergency medical field. He resides in Gillham, Louisiana, located in northern Caddo Parish, approximately 30 miles north of Shreveport. Currently, Adam serves as the Director of Integrated Health for LifeNet Incorporated and manages 3 rotor wing assets and 1 fixed wing asset within the Air Division, while also overseeing the development of community paramedic and telehealth programs. As a passionate advocate for community service, Adam is the mayor of Gillham and has previously served as a town council member. His commitment to public safety is further exemplified by his 10-year service as a board commissioner for Caddo Fire District 7, which operates in a large rural area. Recently appointed to the Hospital Service District Board, he plays a vital role in supporting the North Caddo 2 pharmacies and a dental clinic. Since a young age, Adam has been committed to serving others in their most vulnerable moments. His diverse experiences as a paramedic, emergency nurse, ICU nurse, and flight nurse have shaped his approach to healthcare and community engagement, reinforcing his belief in the importance of compassion and support in times of need.
So Sean and Adam, welcome to the BCEN and Friends podcast. It's a pleasure to have the honorable mayors of Elsinboro and Gillham with us today, and wanted to jump in a little bit to your medical career before we talk about more of the political careers that you've had. But we've only really scratched the surface of your background and all of the things that you've done. And just before we get it again into the politics, can you just briefly tell us what made you want to become a nurse in general, and even get into, both of you have some experience in transport, both of you have worked as an EMT, paramedic, and so a lot of similarities, a few differences, but what encouraged you, maybe Adam, if you wouldn't mind going first, and then Sean, what encouraged you to become a nurse specifically, and why a emergency trauma transport nurse?
Well, I appreciate y'all having me on. This is a first, but I think it's going to be really, really fun to do. But yeah, my background is why I became a nurse. I had a good friend of mine that lived down the road from me when I was 15 years old, and our neighborhood was right next to the local fire department that had a future firefighter program there. So a buddy of mine said, "Hey man, I've been going up to the fire station to hang out. You need to come check this out. It's fun. We get to hang out, do these cool things right around." So I joined the local fire department as a future firefighter, and that was, I was a sophomore in high school, and that's kind of where it all started as far as getting into EMS and seeing, the medical side of things, and really started at a young age. Doing that through high school and having to make a decision with college, it kind of steered me towards nursing. Went off to college, going to be a nurse, and had a little too much fun in my first year or two of college. Realized that, hey, I wasn't really ready to go to nursing clinical, so I had to end up going back and getting my paramedic. I'd got my EMT right out of high school. Went and got my paramedic. Said, hey, it's time for me to get a job and join the real world. Well, while I was in paramedic clinicals, that's when I realized, like, hey, this nursing thing is really where where I really want to know more. I love emergency medicine. I love paramedicine, but I just wanted to know more about what was going on the medical side. I wanted to dig a little deeper than just what the paramedic school was. So I did that for about 3 or 4 years, and then went back to nursing school and have really just had really fortunate, with a lot of opportunities given to me. But it started with ICU nursing, and then it wasn't within a year and a half, and guys me and Dexter both know, started saying, hey, why don't you come down to the ER and work a little bit? We can get you on a mid shift off night shift. So the ER pulled me back in, and I haven't left it. Actually worked a shift in the ER still. I have part-time work last Fridays in the same ER. So that's kind of where I'm glad I have a background in critical care to have that experience, but emergency medicine is really where my heart's at. And then flying just kind of came natural with it as well. Just started flying and been doing that on and off for about 15 years as well. So.
Sean, how about you? Did you follow a similar path, getting roped into junior firefighter, or was it different?
Yeah, so Michael and Holly, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity. And Adam, it's a pleasure to meet you. Sounds like we actually have a lot in common. Just listening to your story, mine is very similar to that. So I'll be honest with you, I did not want to be a nurse. It wasn't even kind of in my differential of career choices. I wanted to be a firefighter. And so at the age of 16, I went to the local fire station. And as I walked in, the chief at the time said, we need volunteers. We would love to have you. And he said, there's one catch. I need you to go take this program. It's called EMT. And I said, EMT, what is that? I've never heard of it. He said, the only way that you're going to be a successful firefighter is if you take this program. So I did. I took the course at 16 and completed the training. And even then, I still, it was a little lukewarm on the idea of healthcare at that moment, but knew that I loved helping others and giving back to my community. So I continued on to that path. And after graduating high school, I actually went on to college. I was a criminal justice, political science double major, headed down that pathway. And again, healthcare really was not on the radar at that moment. And a friend of mine said, hey, there's this hospital down the road that they are looking for EMTs in the emergency department. And it would be a great kind of college job for you as you're working your way through maybe eventually law school. I applied and was hired in the emergency department and realized then that healthcare was for me. And so I quickly decided I was going to change paths. Still didn't know that it was going to be nursing. I actually, for a moment, dabbled in wanting to be a respiratory therapist. And then finally decided on the branch of nursing and the field of nursing. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. The possibilities are endless, and what we get to do each and every day and helping others is really something that motivates me. So very similar to Adam's story, but that's what kind of led me to nursing. And specifically, I've been focused on pediatrics and trauma and emergency medicine here, and have been in a pediatric facility my entire career. And so that's really been the focus of my passion, is pediatric emergency medicine and trauma.
Interesting that both of you in your teenage years were like firemen. That's I think I want to do that. And then all of a sudden, fast forward a few years, you find that, it's really healthcare and specifically nursing. And Sean, I think you said it, that the possibilities within the nursing profession are just huge. There's so many open doors to nurses. And I will say that I have always believed that nurses really can do anything. And I think it's because the people that are drawn to nursing have to embrace just such a variety of challenges, whether that be just the understanding of anatomy and physiology, whether that be the social aspects of nursing, whether it just be the ability to communicate on so many different levels. And I think a person who's able to do that really can do almost anything. And so you both have proven my theory correct in that you're doing something unexpected, in that you're both mayors. Sean, the honorable mayor of the Elsinboro Township in New Jersey, and Adam, the honorable mayor of the village of Gillum in Louisiana. So I guess my question is, at what point did you make the decision, like, hey, I'm going to make a leap and go into political office? At some point you had to be like, I'm going to do this. Or maybe your approach, I don't know. I'm really curious about the path from where you were to how you got to where you are now. What did that open door look like? So Sean, I guess I'll start with you. What made you take that leap?
That's a great question. And actually, I might have made the opposite leap. I was actually an elected official before I was a nurse. So I kind of went the backwards pathway there. But for me, I have a family history of being involved in our community. Specifically, my grandfather was the mayor of the town that I'm currently the mayor of. So I had a little bit of involvement at a young age, but it was more than just the family ties and family history. For me, it truly is about making a difference and giving back to my community. I did know when I graduated high school that what I wanted to do was give back to my community. And I didn't always know how or why, but this was one of the ways that I felt like I was kind of indebted and could pay back my community for what they gave to me. So as you heard in my intro, they led me to the healthcare profession and nursing specifically by just being involved in fire and EMS. And I thought, what better way than to take some of the talents that I have and the abilities that I have and the drive to make a difference and give back to my community. So for me, it's all about making a difference. And that's what led me to really being a part and being involved in political office.
What about you, Adam? Similar story?
Well, no, I didn't. I don't have any family that was in politics, for instance. But a lot of it was started with the local fire department there. We would have the board meetings at the fire department, and you would see how they would work, and and go through and how they'd had the board commissioners and the chief's reports, and have the public comments. And I always really was intrigued by that and just understanding how it all works. And I'm kind of that kind of person that probably gets me in more trouble than anything. Is like I don't just listen. I want to understand. So having that niche to dig more into it. But really, I guess it was in 2015 I'd moved up to Gillum from the Blanchard area, which is kind of north of Shreveport. So I just kind of moved a little further out in the country. And the local fire department there, where I was running an ambulance service at the time for North Caddo, I'd known some of those guys, grew up around a lot of those guys, working recs and different things with them. I was asked to get on their board of commissioners, and I've been on that for I guess 8 or 9 years now. So that was kind of my first step into it, and I was like, okay, and kind of understood it, and and look at the financials and being able to understand, hey, how this all works, the insurance, the whole retirement system, and being able to really understand the financial side of a public office and a tax-based service. So I just had an interest in that. And then I got asked, my village, it's a very small area, and there's a lady that had been the mayor for 25 something years, a long time. She was in her 80s, almost her 90s at the time. She was like, you need to get involved. And I'm like, I don't know. I've got a lot going on. I like to hunt. I like to fish. And then she ends up going to the nursing home, and then a new mayor comes in, and she kept on hounding me. He's like, you need to get involved. So I went from, hey, let's get on the town council, to I got on the town council within 3 months. They're like, hey, by the way, I'm not running for mayor again, and we think you need to be the mayor, and you're going to run, and we'll do everything for you. And it's just one night a week. It's no big deal. You're just there. Well, needless to say, she's not on the town council anymore. And the other lady that taught me into it, she's passed away since then. And it's more than one night a week. That's for sure. I get phone calls about, coyotes running through my backyard. Is there anything the town can do? And I'm like, not the animal control, to people complaining about, trucks, going loud through downtown. And it's interesting. It definitely keeps me on my toes, but that's kind of how I got into being the mayor. And I enjoy the things, and and it evolved into being on the hospital board, and and seeing how even a bigger healthcare system, or well, I would say a bigger than the fire department, something works and all of that. It's always an interest. So I do find that, I wouldn't say fascinating, but very intrigued about all the taxpayers' money and all of that.
So, Sean, I wanted to follow up with what Adam said. Adam talks about how it got to be a lot more than what he was initially told of just one night a week. What have you seen in terms of the workload involved in the service in that mayoral capacity, and some of the different things that are unique to that role that you've had to deal with over the years?
I'm laughing because I think we've all been told the same thing. It's a certain time frame, right? So for us, it's one night a month. There's a council meeting, and that's it. We'll handle the rest. And it's certainly a lot more than that. And as Adam mentioned, there's a lot that goes on in these offices. So for me, I actually, when I first ran, I ran at the age of 18. And at that point in time, I lost the election because most people thought, what can an 18-year-old offer to this town? And so for me, that was actually a really important time in my life because it showed that I had to prove myself. It allowed me to really be integrated into the community and be involved and show that I do want to do what's best for the community. It's opened up different avenues for me and allowed me to get involved in different aspects of our community. And so that's a long-winded way of me saying it's a lot more than one night a week or even more than an hour a day. There's a lot involved, but it's really about the person and what they can put into the role and how they can really kind of immerse themselves in their municipality to ultimately do what's best for their community.
Another thing that I've realized is public office really brings out some characters in your community that you didn't know about, that have concerns that you never knew were concerns. Never a dull moment when you get public records requests and over things that happened 20-something years ago, and you're digging through old files trying to figure out what they're looking for or why they're looking for it. So it's always I have a little bit more patience.
When Adam and I kind of are talking here, I think regardless of the size of municipality or the geographic location, sounds like very similar issues, concerns from our residents and the public. And so it doesn't matter where you are, or we're all dealing with the same challenges and trying to navigate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, you mentioned digging through records, and as nurses, we have to dig through charts. We have to be detectives and find out health histories, and there's a lot of similarities there. There a lot of what we have to do with active listening and being able to deal with people, whether they're mad at us or not, and whether they have 20-year-old grudges against others. We have to deal with that as nurses as well. So in terms of just the correlation between what you have to do day to day as a nurse and what you have to do as a mayor, are there things that you have learned throughout your healthcare career that have really complemented that mayoral role? And then are there other things as a mayor that it's just been a really difficult transition because Adam, maybe, Sean was in public office before he became a nurse, but Adam, as you picking it up later on, maybe we'll start with you. What were some of the biggest challenges to you becoming a mayor? So maybe if you could start with the correlation, some of the strengths you already had, and then some challenges.
Oh, absolutely. The main thing is being able to communicate with anybody, from the most highly touted person in town that's very, very wealthy to the lowest person down. You get a lot of that experience in the emergency room, understanding how to communicate on all levels. Educational wise, financial wise, socioeconomic class. You get to use those same skills to listen and have patience. I go back in the emergency room and I'm like, yeah, that nurse would not make a very good mayor at all, with their patience being none at all. That you cannot just say that to in this position. But I have learned through my emergency room nursing that really just listening to people, like you said, actively listening to them and showing them, you could in your mind be thinking, what in the world has this person got, but at the same time on the outer appearance, you've got to, show that you care and you have have some compassion or some understanding of what they're going through and listening to them. Sometimes to a fault, you sit there and you get caught listening to them for an hour while they're sitting there just rambling. And probably one of the bigger challenges is to have some boundaries there and establish some boundaries, because some people, once they get a hold of that, it's almost like they want to abuse that time and they just want to keep on pounding and hounding you about certain things or this or that, and just saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're at. I'm an elected official, but this is where our thoughts and in the council and everything, this is where we're going as a town. We understand your concerns, but this is where we're going, and kind of establishing those boundaries. I I guess it's some of the people pleasing part of me, and trying to listen to everybody's concern is a good thing, but at the same time it can get to be where it's a challenge where you finally just have to say, look, this is the way we're going, and I do apologize that you don't agree, but this is where we're going with it. So
Yeah. And Sean, how about you? You've also held similar roles in healthcare and working even as we mentioned, the chief of the fire department as well. So you have a lot of hats that you're juggling on top of your nursing role. But maybe if you wouldn't mind mentioning some of those things that you found to be really melding together in an elected official role and a healthcare role, and then some things that make it a little more difficult.
And I think at the end of the day, Adam touched on this, but we care a lot. And I think that bleeds into both our personal, professional, and political lives as well. And I think we demonstrate that in what we do, right? I've seen it kind of both sides bleed over into each other. And I mean that from truly what we can learn from our professional side to take into the public office side, and what we can learn from the public office side and take into the healthcare side. So I'll use a great example. In my professional organization, we model something called the standards of behavior. And those standards were designed for our associates here of really kind of how to manage day-to-day situations. But I've actually incorporated them into my everyday life and into my public office life. And so being able to take things such as that and utilize them in all aspects is really actually, it's made me a stronger leader in healthcare, and it's made me a stronger advocate for my community and in public office.
I'm going to take that and put that in my thoughts for later to kind of ponder that a little bit. I like that you were able to take what you were doing that was helping you have great conversations and maybe healthy boundaries in healthcare, and then translating that into politics and vice versa. And again, Adam, I also appreciated when you said, like, just being able to listen and show compassion. And I think sometimes in nursing, that's a good takeaway for us, is that we have the opportunity to sit with people in their most vulnerable state. And we may not necessarily agree that this is the biggest emergency of the day, but it's the biggest one for them of their day. And just reconciling that our communication and the way that we speak to someone really maybe does have to put on that, hey, they're here. We're going to appreciate that they might have these concerns. We're going to show them some compassion, and again, have a level of expectation of their behavior, but also a level of expectation of my behavior as well. And I think that's some really great takeaways. And I like the way that both of you have kind of integrated things back and forth that have made you maybe a stronger nurse and stronger in your political office. So that is, again, I have some things to ponder. So, I get the chance to ask another question. So both of you are really super active in your respective field of nursing. You're educators, community leaders. There have been times in nursing where I have had the thought, if only the politicians would ask me, I would certainly set them straight. Now, I don't often move past that thought, but both of you clearly have all of the steps that you've taken. And so kind of my question is, if someone is listening and they're thinking, yeah, I definitely want to take, what Adam was saying, like I got involved and I kind of wanted to understand and go a little deeper. And like Sean, you said, my family was kind of involved in this, and I saw that there was a way that I could give back, and it led me to here. So you said, I see changes that need to be made. And now I'm going to take that next step, and I am going to be that change. I'm going to try to enact those changes. What would be some advice that you might give someone thinking, maybe I want to be that change? So Sean, I'll start off with you.
Absolutely. So first of all, I think I would say do it. Get involved and take that chance, take that step. It is worth it. The reward is certainly worth the effort that you would put in there. And it doesn't have to be public office, right? So a lot of times we think politics and we think the national scene, which can be scary and downright petrifying at times, I would say. But I'll be honest with you, I don't really get into the political side, right? I'm a public official that's there to serve my community and do what's right. I truly believe that many people have those same visions and philosophies when they take that leap and get involved. But it doesn't have to be seeking public office. It can be involved in committee work. It can be letter writing to your officials on things or on different items that you feel are important and want to make sure that your voice is heard. But I would say to anybody that wants to do it, get involved in some way. And again, it could be a school board, it could be municipal level, it could be higher. There are a number of ways for individuals to get involved. We heard Adam talk earlier about his involvement in the fire company and the board of commissioners. Another way that you could get involved is directly in a community advocacy group, right? Or a community group such as your fire company or PTO or school association. And taking that initiative to get involved is really a big first step.
Adam,
Yeah,
you can follow that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of what Sean was saying earlier as well, as far as how to get involved and what to do, and why you do it, is everybody wants to know. I mentioned earlier about knowing the why or what's going on or really digging into it. And I look at that from actually an administrative role as well. It kind of is the same type of learning curve, I guess, as, whenever I was just a floor nurse or just a paramedic. I was like, well, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't we buying this equipment? Why aren't we not doing this? Why are we not staffing all these nurses and doing all this? Well, once you get into administrative and even into political office, well, you understand that, you start to have a clear understanding that it's not more than just that one easy, simple task to, this simple thing will fix everything. There's always a backstory. There's always a financial part of it piece as well. And having that understanding is really, it makes me better, a better nurse, a better employee from that standpoint, that it's not just, hey, what meets the eye. There's a whole nother aspect. There's more to the whole picture there. And I always use the terminology, and not only in my professional, but in my personal life as well, is like whenever you have two different arguments or two different sides of a story, having an understanding of why somebody feels that way is really the best way to have a educated opinion on the other side. Is you have to understand the other side of it as well. So from a political standpoint, is his understanding both sides of every argument, trying to understand, to have a clear opinion of why you feel the way you do. So I think a lot of that bridges over from nursing, but also, into the political office, is like, hey, you want to get involved, you want to do all of that. This is the benefit that you get the bigger picture. You get to see the whole aspects of everything. You get a clear understanding. And you run into some people now, once they open up that box, you're like, whoa, okay, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I don't ever see anybody that gets involved and is like, yeah, I said this, and that's always, well, once they get the blinds pulled back, they're like, oh, okay, well, there's a little bit more to it. But yeah, and like Sean was saying, just get involved, and it's you don't have to be anybody special or anything like that. You just have to have a heart of service and and wanting to make your community better, whatever you're involved in, making it better. And this is the way to do it. Instead of don't complain, just come join us.
Yeah, well, that's great advice from both of you. And I think if you look at just your healthcare careers, I'm going to give you both a little praise here. But Adam, you were on the Louisiana Bureau of EMS. You were on the board there. You had a governor appointed position. You've been very actively involved in flight nursing. You've spoken at national conferences. Sean, you were on the board at STN. You were the president. You've been very involved as a national speaker. You're on the board at BCEN. You have a doctoral degree. Both of you have so much to be very proud of just in healthcare alone. And that's not even getting into the mayoral side. And a lot of what nurses consider, I'd love to go back and get this degree, or I'd love to go get this certification. And not that many actually do. And I think it takes a lot of personal responsibility, but it also takes some good people fighting with us and some good people that we've come in contact with. And we ask everybody on this podcast, and I'd love to hear from both of you, maybe starting with Sean and then Adam, about a person or a moment in your career that really impacted you and made you who you are today. Whether it was a family member, a coworker, somebody in the community. Is there anybody that really made an impact on you as an individual that helped you to get where you are today, both in healthcare and in politics?
Yeah, so Michael, I appreciate this question. And there are always people that play an important part in helping kind of shape you to be who you are. And for me, family is extremely important. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my family and the impact that they had on me. And that's all the way up from a young age until now. And just the constant support and belief in me and allowing me to achieve my goals, or at least try to achieve my goals and really keep pushing. So I really owe my family for always being supportive. But in addition to that, there's a couple things that you heard me mention through the podcast, and that is one, that fire chief that pushed me to become an EMT. Had he not pushed me to be an EMT, I don't really know what would have happened. I probably wouldn't be in healthcare here and would have been down a different career path. And so that was definitely a pivotal moment for me. And then there's been a couple folks in healthcare that have really helped drive me to being a certified nurse and understanding the importance of certification and continuing to push to be involved and continue my education through degrees and finding the program that works best for me. So I have a couple individuals I won't name specifically, but my family and through the fire service and healthcare definitely have been inspirational in my journey.
Yeah, it's hard to name particular names for fear of forgetting one person and causing some strife there. Adam, what about you?
Well, I mean, as far as from a nursing standpoint, I could think of a few nurses, that really made an impact on me. An educator.
Sherry
like,
Hagerham.
Yes, Sherry. Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly how to say her last name, but yeah, Sherry. As far as from a young ICU nurse, seeing how to do it the right way, how to do it, how to have passion, but also make sure you take care of your patients the right way. Speaking to families, I mean, she made a huge impact on me. Is like whenever I was very multiple at that time and kind of been a paramedic for a few years and kind of had that biased old, grouchy paramedic tone to me, but just seeing that and seeing how she did it and the way she did it is always, I've always looked back, and every time I see her or something, I'll be going through the hallway with, somebody, another flight nurse, and I'll be like, look, that's the best nurse I know right there. And I hadn't seen her nurse at bedside probably in 10 or 15 years myself, but I mean, it still is like, that's, if something's wrong with me, that's who I want to be, take care of me and take care of my family. So she had a huge impact on me in nursing wise. As far as, fire department and political wise, when I started future firefighting, there was a guy named Jeff Akes. He was a firefighter at that time. He's actually the chief of the fire district where I started. Now he went up as a deputy chief for a long time. He was my deputy chief when I worked as a firefighter there. But he always me and him used to always have conversations about just doing the right thing and being involved and looking at it from a whole servitude, leadership, those type of qualities, serving the people that are under you, putting the people first. Not only just your patients are important, but your people that take care of your patients are even more important. Just that type of mentality and that type of influence really, he had a huge impact on establishing those things that, at an early age, I really didn't think it was molding me. But when you look back, it's like, well, those are the things that really impacted me and and being able to put it into a political office, but also in the administrative roles that I've had.
It's always interesting to me to hear who had an impact in your life and how do people who are accomplishing really hard things, who are the people that have come alongside them to help kind of bear the weight with them a little bit, because nursing is heavy. Serving people is heavy work. And so I think it takes having people come alongside you to help lift that up a little bit, but then also to be able to celebrate you with you as accomplishments happen and things go well, sit with you when maybe things don't go as you planned, and also just, kind of do life. And so it always makes just for a moment in a podcast where you hear that from people. And so I appreciate both of your stories, and it's awesome to have people who support you. So I get the chance to ask a few rapid fire questions. They're really about your favorites. And I'm going to start with a question that I honestly just really want to know. So for both of you guys, do you have any desire for any other political office or titles? Adam, I'll start with you.
I could see myself possibly moving up to like the local cattle parish commission, maybe in the future. I also tell myself that I'm trying to do all this before I turn 50, so I can kind of wipe my hands of it and say, hey, I did my service whenever I retire and completely be retired. My wife says I won't do that. She says I'll always be involved in something. But if anything, I don't want to get any much higher than just the local. I believe in local politics and the things there. Once you get to the state, it gets difficult.
What about you, Sean?
I can't say that I've never thought about seeking higher office. However, I do think that really the better chance to make a difference and give back is at the local level. And so that's really where my heart is. It's about my community and giving back. And I can't say I've ruled it out completely, but for me, it's all about my town and our fire company has this motto that is called "Neighbors Helping Neighbors," and while it's really for the fire company and their motto, I've kind of adopted it as my own "Neighbors Helping Neighbors" motto, and I believe that I can help my neighbors and give back to them at the local level.
I can see that. I think about like, hey, it would be nice to have some really great political candidates, people I could personally believe very strongly in what they may do and their integrity and such. So I'm for you guys going a little bit higher, but I can also, as like a person who has a family and a desire to sometimes rest in between work and all the things, I can see maybe why the local level is kind of a good place to land, maybe stay. But I'm ready to endorse you both. So you let me know, me and Michael, you've got us. So there's that. I do have some favorites. I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, what is your favorite book? Sean, I'll go ahead and start with you. What's a book that you would recommend to us?
So I would recommend the book Good to Great. Really, it talks a lot about how good is the enemy of great. And it's that phrase that really means that if you settle for things that are just good, it actually will prohibit you from achieving greatness. So recognizing that we can always achieve more and recognizing that good is not good enough and we should really strive to be great.
What about you, Adam?
The Dichotomy of Leadership, if you've ever jumped into any of those, that series, it just talks about leadership from a Navy SEAL perspective and the experiences they had at that level. And it's a lot of servitude leadership qualities and putting your men first, and and those things. It really it was like, hey, this all makes sense, and it has a lot of good examples, and it relates not only from the wartime and during the battlefield, but also they relate to real life situations in business.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both for your great recommendations. I am going to ask one more favorite because I'm actually just honestly curious if you guys have time to watch a movie or a TV show or a binge-worthy series. So now I'm just curious if you have time for that. So do you have a recommendation? Adam, what about you?
Well, I'm currently in the middle of Madam Secretary is what I'm watching right now. So it's and my wife gives me a hard time. She's like, it's so long and I can't keep up with it. I'm like, well, Suits is always I could watch Suits over and over again, but Madam Secretary is going on right now. So
Then what about you, Sean?
Suits is definitely a good one for sure. And I've seen several Madam Secretary, so I've seen them. For me, though, it's all about sports. I know it's not a favorite show or binging a series or anything, but our family is big into sports, whether it's college basketball, college football, professional baseball. So we're into playoffs now, football season. It's a good time of year, but for us, there's always some type of sporty event that's kind of captured our attention.
I'll be with you on the sports side of things. I do enjoy good college football. I'm glad it's back. I mean, obviously, being from Louisiana, you're basically born to be a Saints fan. So whatever happens with that, it's you live through the season. So, all right.
I thought you were going to say LSU. I really thought you were going to go down that.
I did too.
I knew the politics of that and I avoided it completely. With that new situation they have set up, I've got to hedge my bets a little bit from a school. So I'm not gonna draw too much fire for that. But yes, I'm excited to see how this all plays out, the drama of college football. But self-care is a big deal, being able to reset. And obviously, you guys have a lot of commitments, a lot of things that you're spending your time on, from not only work, nursing, your political offices, community involvement, meetings. I'm sure your calendars are very full. But what is it that you do? What is a self-care go-to or a hobby that's kind of outside of healthcare and the service realm that helps you reset and kind of get back to you so that way you can be what you are to so many people? So Sean, I'll go ahead and start with you. What would you say is kind of helps you reset?
So when I say this, most people don't believe me, but truly for me, it's fire and EMS. That for me it helps ground me and remind me of why I do what I do. And so while a lot of people look at that as, oh my gosh, it's more work or something else, another task to take on, for me, it's all about being on that ambulance or that fire truck and doing what we do. And it helps kind of ground me to why I got involved in the first place. So that's how I do self-care for me.
Awesome. What about you, Adam?
Well, I definitely don't do the fire and EMS. Really, I'm an avid fisherman in the springtime. I grew up fishing a long time, tournament bass fishing. So I do that. Actually, since my new job is a little bit less off ship work and regular shift, I got back into golf. I run. I'm a runner. I'm training for a half marathon in November. I usually do 2 or 3 half marathons a year. So that's really where I can kind of decompress is when I run. I'm running 2 or 3 days a week. So that's self-care, kind of try to keep me young, kind of keep me active a little bit. But that's probably the best one as far as really my mental part, because fishing can be frustrating and golf can be really frustrating. But running, I'm really just you just get on the road and go. So
I think it's important that whatever it is for you, because I think self-care is very much honed in on that person, whatever it is, it's important that you prioritize it and that you do it on a regular basis. So that way, again, you can be the best version of you. So many people are dependent on you in very different roles, all the roles that you have. And so I commend you both for taking the time to do things that help you reset. So thanks for sharing all of that. If our audience wanted to follow you online, is there a way that they can either contact you, or is there a social media platform that they could reach out to you at? Adam, is there a way for them to do that?
I do have Instagram. It's flying_fishing without the G on either of them _. That is my Instagram.
Perfect. What about you, Sean?
I'm not big into the social media aspect. I do have a webpage, SeanElwell.com, and an email address associated with that, Sean@SeanElwell.com, that I can be contacted by if anyone's interested.
Awesome. Thank you both again for sharing that.
Well, I really have enjoyed chatting with both of you today. I've known both of you for a while. Adam and I have worked together in the past. I didn't realize Adam was so good at fending off wild coyotes in people's backyards and all the things we've learned about today. And Sean, it's been great getting to know more about you and your political background and what motivated you even into healthcare in general. And I really appreciate the conversation. I think it's important that nurses recognize while there can be a lot of frustrations in the workplace and a lot of ways that people can get upset about things that happen on a day-to-day, I think it's important that they hear from people like yourselves that can really put the focus back on them and say, if you want to be part of the change, don't be afraid to jump in and get involved. And whatever that is, whether it's in the hospital, in the community, or even on a more regional, state, or national level, I think people being involved in things that they want to see changes is really important. And it's really great to be able to chat with both of you and hear about what you're doing in your local community. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a really great conversation.
I really enjoyed it. Nice to meet you, Sean. And anything else, just give me a shout.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for having us. I appreciate it. And Adam, congratulations on Michael and Holly's endorsement for your next run at political office here.
It's a dual endorsement, just so we're clear. Both of you guys, we're ready. We're ready for whatever you want to take on next. We have strong beliefs you can do it and do it well. So I want to take this time to thank Sean and Adam, 1, for your leadership, 2, for your expertise, 3, for carving out time in your very full lives for us today. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And I believe that both of you have created lasting impact through the greatness of serving others. And we truly appreciate you and all that you're doing. And to all of our listeners, we hope you will stay tuned as we continue with BCEN Friends and bring you new, meaningful content and perspectives. And if you have a suggestion for an episode, please email us at bcn@bcn.org. I'm Holly Briggs, here with Michael Dexter. And on behalf of the entire BCEN team, we thank and celebrate you for all that you're doing as professional nurses across the emergency spectrum. Until next time, we are out.